Wake that ass up. Early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
It benefit Black America. Y'all talking about restoring, right? Black America, restoring our lives, restoring our economy, restoring our families. How does it even benefit Black America to encourage our men to become women? Because first of all, if anybody understands the strategies of war, it's trying to take out a colony of people, the first thing they do is remove the men. So as a woman, first of all, I need my man. I need my Black man. You know, I need you to be a man. I need you to lead. I don't need you to be competition. I don't need you to feel like you a woman or feel like you are me, because I don't have to give my crown away. So no, I don't support feminizing, especially not our boys. But if you're an old man and you want to make a decision that that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I don't have to support it. Every time a woman has an abortion, a baby dies. You can't say Black Lives Matter and don't include the Black lives that are in the womb. Now, when you're talking about healthcare,
is it a fetus or a baby?
Let's talk about it. Look up the definition of a fetus. A fetus is a human baby. Now, the thing of it is, when you guys say you're pro-choice, you have to think about this, the word and the trick. Why is it pro-life and then pro-choice? Because the opposite of life is death. The choice is death. So what we have to decide now is when we are voting is, are you going to vote for your children, your future children to die or your future children to live? Why not give them access to, it's a choice. What's the choice though?
Life or death.
Okay, so why would a mother choose death for her child? Everybody that's here, even all of us on this live, we got here because our mamas got pregnant. At the end of the day, it's somebody's life. So how is it that everybody that's advocating for abortion has never been aborted?
So presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy recently went on the Breakfast Club to talk about his presidential campaign, and it was a shit show. I literally watched the interview. I just filmed it for my YouTube channel. I'm doing a full reaction of it, but I had to do a quick video here on TikTok because I could not believe what I witnessed.
So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions according to your resume.
So look at how she phrases this question, right? She asked him, when did you first vote? And he says, I voted in 2020. Now, instead of inquiring why he only voted in 2020, she immediately goes on the attack and frames the question as, so you've been sitting around, implying he hasn't been doing anything with his life in the country that her ancestors built. Okay, let's unpack this, shall we? So yes, African Americans were 110% pivotal in the growth of this country and in helping to build this country. But African Americans were not the only group who were a part of the building of this nation. Many races of people were involved in the building of this country, and many of those people, by the way, were not slave owners. Let's just put that out there. So the reason why I have an issue with the way she's phrasing this question is because it's almost as though she's trying to say, you owe me something as a Black woman because my ancestors built this country by themselves, and here you are, a person of color, not voting and getting to reap the benefits of what my ancestors did. So you owe me something. That's what I get from the phrasing of her question. And here's the thing. Vivek, yes, was not involved in politics prior. However, Vivek, before he became a presidential candidate, was running a company. He was the CEO of his company. He worked his way up to the top. And that company was trying to find a cure for cancer and working within the medical field to help people with medicine. So it's not as though he was doing nothing. He was sitting around playing video games. He actually was trying to help people medically, which in my opinion is a huge service to this country, a huge service to the people of this country. You can serve this country in many different ways. Voting and serving in the military is not the only way that you can serve this country. In fact, a lot of people vote every 4 years and do nothing in between. So I don't understand her tone when it comes to questioning Vivek as though he's on the witness stand. But let's continue because she goes on.
I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important. My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was born in this country, and I'm proud of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my parents.
I'm saying your parents were immigrants. My apologies.
That's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I thought
my
I would set that
apologies.
record straight.
I mean, they were immigrants, but let's not go down the water hole.
No, we're not going to water hole. I just want to correct a couple facts.
So you imply that he's an immigrant and wasn't born in this country, and then when he corrects you, you condescendingly tell him, let's not go down the water hole, as if to say, let's not focus on that minor mistake, even though that minor mistake is what you're using to say you came to this country as an immigrant and reaped the rewards without doing any of the work. That whole argument goes out the window when he explains that he was born in this country. And notice how she tries to quickly poo-poo that away. yeah, whatever, okay. And this is supposed to be a journalist, people.
This is just a PR campaign, sir, to be honest with you. And I think you're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color. And I think the only way you think you can do that is to be so extreme.
I appreciate your opinion.
With your positions. And I think you need to do a little bit more work in service. I'll give it back to you guys.
And so the real agenda comes out. The reason why she was so hostile in this interview is because Vivek is a person of color, and Vivek happens to be conservative and is running on the Republican side of things, not the Democrat side of things. And because this woman is still enslaved in her mind, she can't fathom the fact that somebody of color is not voting Democrat and is not a liberal. Therefore, something must be wrong. Ma'am, free your mind, take a red pill, and then go to bed and wake up the next day, hopefully.
So the question is, did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
I did.
I know you played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council. But, I think that this is yes, I have held leadership roles over my life, but those don't qualify me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, it kind of does. Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test administrator.
All right, there you go.
So it kind of does, because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
and I'll tell you, I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
the main leadership role I played is and I want to talk about one early part of your premise that I also want to say, to bring it to the country point. The other point, you use the word sitting around. I'm not somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. Another one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize for making contributions. But
right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that
no worries.
Because that's not the question that I asked. And I don't consider, as a veteran, I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you
Civic
did for
service.
profit. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with your company.
So I've not served the country
because that
in the way
means
you
nothing
have.
to me.
You do
what I'm
realize
talking,
she hasn't been able to ask a question. She's been trying to ask a question, and you've been talking over her.
I'm all ears.
We gave you the platform to let you say
I'm all defensive.
I'm all ears. No, I was just correcting a couple facts.
She hasn't had a chance to ask
all.
a question yet. Every time she tries to ask a question, you've been cutting her off. Go ahead,
I'm all ears.
Right. So your question. So my question again is: you're trying to.
You're not a white male really stand a chance of being a Republican?
I'll be honest with you. I traveled the country. I have not really experienced meaningful racism from grassroots conservative audiences for the last, several years that I've been. Since I stepped down from my business career, that was a different world I was in. But for my book tours and everything else, and then now for this campaign, traveling the country, it's funny. That's the impression that you get from the media. Meeting people from Iowa, Ohio, Michigan, New Hampshire, I don't see that at all. In fact, I just see a hunger for substance, ideas, what's actually going to make the country better. I actually am very encouraged by that, and I think that more people should
blame white supremacy. 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
See, say more, and then I'll respond to that.
I mean, just look at the history of the country. Like, it's just really just that simple for me. The country has never fulfilled its promises of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. It's always been freedom, liberty, and justice for some. And usually that some is white people.
So here's what I would say in response to that. That is obviously true that the nation has fallen short of our promise since our founding. Walk through some obvious facts about America. We're not founded on an ethnicity or a monarch or a food or even a religion. We're founded on a set of ideals that brought a group of people together in 1776, and we live by those ideals. At least we aspire to those ideals today. A nation that aspires to ideals that's not made up of gods, but made up of human beings, will always fall short of those ideals. So I think our worst hypocrisies as a country, and we have many of them, our worst hypocrisies are our best evidence that we have ideals at all. You take a look at other countries. Nobody ever calls the Chinese Communist Party a hypocrite, or China a hypocrite, or Iran a hypocrite. Why is that? Because to be a hypocrite, you at least had to have ideals in the first place.
But a lot of
and so we're imperfect, but we are about the pursuit of a more perfect union, the pursuit of happiness. America's about the pursuit. And so I think that trashing ourselves, I think we are actually. The reason
I say that is because, we never were included in those ideals originally.
Originally, yeah. But never and not originally are two different things. Originally, that's true. Over 250 years of progress, if you had somebody who was in 1870 looking at the world we live in today, if you had somebody in 1960 who was looking at the world we live in today as it relates to race in America, we would be darn close to what they would have thought of as the promised land. So I think we have to recognize that America is about that pursuit. We're a lot further along than we were 250 years ago. And here's the other thing, too. We got to set our expectations. We will always fall short of our ideals. By definition, if there are human beings and not gods living in a nation that aspires to ideals, we are fallen. Man is fallen. That's what makes us who we are. But what also makes us different from animals is that we have ideals. So America's founded on our humanity, that we can believe and aspire to something that we will still fall short of. That's what makes this country beautiful. And that's why that's why I'm in this. You ask me, why am I in this? I care about reviving pride in that nation, because if we get into the habit of just bashing that country, what are we bashing? We're bashing the last best hope that man has for aspiring to those ideals. Tell me who else has done better.
Mr. Elder, a quick question. Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system. Okay. You mentioned that the system was the one that discouraged. And again, we have no problem with agreeing that the family, the black family, should certainly has some room for some improvement. But let's just focus on system.
Room for improvement?
System. Well, we're not going to go down that water. We're not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question. So the question is, you said that the system encouraged black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The welfare, the system. So who's in charge of the system? Who was in charge of the system?
Well, it was Democrats that passed it.
And who were Democrats? Were they black or white at that time?
Well, at the time, majority of black people were Democrats, as the majority of black people are Democrats now.
Not the voters. I'm talking about the system. Remember, the main idea is the word system. Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time, the system. I'm just going to Charlamagne's point about white or black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intentions. And if you look at the New York Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all of this.
Right. And what I'm asking was, it white people, so I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly. Was it white people in charge of the system or black people in charge of that system that helped break down the black family? It's a simple yes, just a simple question, white or black?
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare. The inducement was put there by Democrats, by the left.
Correct. Okay. Democrats,
most black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people.
Not
too.
Voters. I said who's in charge of the system.
Well, who put them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson white or black?
Who put them in charge? Maybe that'll help you. Fine. Lyndon Johnson was white.
Thank you.
Okay.
So all I see is a 71-year-old man who identifies the problem with the black community, which is fatherless households. And this is proven by statistics. He named several different statistics that proves his theory, how when we were in more harsher racist conditions, we had less crime rates. Now we're more free than ever, and the crime is up. Everything is out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? And all I see is him trying to advocate for us, and we're giving pushback.
Have we created?
Goodness.
Have we implemented that we have been in charge of? Name one.
Is this why you don't like talking to black women, Larry Elder?
Wow. Baltimore. Freddie Gray a few years ago.
No. That's mayors. I'm not talking. I said system.
I'm going to tell you about the system if you allow me to finish my point.
I'm not talking about somebody elected and doing a job, sir. I asked, what system did we create? What financial system?
Okay, let's talk about the system of one of the largest.
Let him say his point,
thank you.
Sir.
One of the systems of one of the largest cities in America, Baltimore. Freddie Gray died in police custody a few years ago. The mayor was black. The head of the police department was black. Number two,
it's not in charge of the system. But go ahead.
Number 2 person in charge of the police department was black. All
the
city council, Democrats, majority black.
Still not in charge of the system.
Wow.
That's a position.
6 officers charged, 3 of them were black. A judge before whom 2 of the officers tried their case, found him not guilty, was black.
Still not in charge of the system.
The city intendant of public schools was black. The county superintendent of public schools was black. The attorney general at the time, Loretta Lynch, is black, as was the president of the United States, was black. And yet,
still not in charge of the system. So I asked you a simple question, sir.
Well, Wanda Sykes said when Barack Obama got elected, how are you going to complain about the man when you are the man? Now, from the president to the attorney general to the state attorney to the mayor to the head of the police department to the commissions of the schools in the city and in the county to the majority of city council in that city, all of them are black. And you're still saying that we don't run anything?
So who's in charge of the system? No. You probably got to go. Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Oh, brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever had
Well, I'm acutely aware, Charlamagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump.
And you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my...
It seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about a nigger wake up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney. Because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black and let you think a certain kind of way. It seemed to me that should have been a nigga wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
I didn't say you were.
I think both.
I don't know what you are. I never even asked you about your party affiliation.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, but you are black. And to have a white guy come in here and tell you have to say, think a certain kind of way, otherwise you, quote, ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him, you think?
What I just now said, how dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black people, black men walking around are really black, 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump. How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
Well, I did my father than I would about the cops catching me. These kids are afraid of neither. They don't have a father in the home. Cops are demoralized. They're pulling back. Their manpower is short. And as a result, you tell a bad guy you're less likely to be caught, convicted, incarcerated, crime goes up. They may be criminals, but they're not stupid. When you say, what do white people do? I mean, this is a country that has struggled mightily to get over its historic racism. There was a civil war. There was a big civil rights movement. This is the only majority white country that's ever elected a black president, let alone reelected a black president.
I got to stop it, y'all, because Breakfast Club, because they got smoked on this one. They probably don't want people reviewing it. So I got to stop it and do my due diligence to respond and give commentary. So every now and again, I may stop the video to talk about it. But look, what is he saying? Can Charlamagne respond to this? Can anybody respond to this? Larry Elder is on fire. I mean, it's no response. I've been waiting for this forever. Roll the clip.
The 3 biggest cities in America are New York, Chicago, L.A. They all have black mayors, even though no city has a majority of black population. The president of Harvard is a black female. Martin Luther King in 1966, Charlamagne, gave an interview to the BBC. This is 2 years after the Civil Rights Act of 64 got passed. And he said, I'm amazed at how many positive changes there have been in America in the last 2 years. Why, if things keep going like this, we could have a black president in about 40 years' time. Do the math. Right on cue, Barack Obama elected 2008. He didn't say there'll be a black female president of Harvard, and there has been. He didn't say there are going to be black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and there have been several. He didn't say the percentage of the House would equal the percentage of black people in the population, and it does. He didn't say the 3 largest cities would have black mayors, and they do. He didn't say the largest and most prestigious organization of doctors, the American Medical Association, would have 2 black presidents, and there have been. He didn't say the most prestigious organization of lawyers, the American Bar Association, would have 2 black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave right before he got assassinated the day before.
Biden administration, I've had people from, Governor Cuomo's team reach out to me and ask me to be on these task force to help lead people to get the vaccine, lead black people to get the vaccine. And I always say, man, I've never seen y'all in a rush to remedy anything else in the black community. When it comes to poverty, when it comes to police brutality.
Several months later.
Girl, you look good, won't you vax that thing up? You's a handsome young brother, won't you vax that thing up? Dating real life, you need to vax that thing up. Feeling freaky all night, you need to vax that thing up. Girl, you look good, won't you vax that thing up? You's a decent looking brother, won't you vax that thing up? Acting full of sleep, you need to vax that thing up. Herd immunity when you vax that thing up.
If you wanna get sticky and hot, go get the shot. If you wanna smash some dude named Scott, go get the shot.
Charlamagne The God exposed.
I'll be honest with you, I don't even feel comfortable talking about this. I'm sweating right now. Listen, I don't there's certain things I don't like to talk about, and I love Jewish people. But they're powerful. I don't want them to misconstrue anything I'm saying or take anything I'm saying the wrong way. So I would much rather not even have this conversation. I have a lot of great Jewish people in my corner. I have a Jewish conglomerate. Yeah, absolutely. You know why there's not a lot of Jewish rappers? Because there's Jewish owners and Jewish CEOs. They run these labels. They're the bosses. That's why I'm uncomfortable.
What did Kanye say? He said, happy Kwanzaa to all the artists and
happy Hanukkah to all the labels. It's the truth. They run the business, period, from Hollywood to the music industry, everything. And I mean, it's a very powerful mafia, as they should be.
You saw what happened to Mel Gibson. You know what I'm saying?
He deserved that, though. He's an asshole. Like, I'm a stern believer, man. Like, you shouldn't discriminate against anybody because of their race, because of their gender, because of their religion, because of their sexuality. So he deserved that. Whenever you pick out a whole race and say this race is effed up, or this race is foul, or this race is this, and this race is that, you deserve whatever you get. See, the problem with black people, we don't have no power. No matter what we do, we can all click up. We don't have no organization that holds any weight. And at least if you don't hold no weight. We don't have no organization that holds no weight. You can't speak bad about a Jewish person because they have organizations and they're a close-knit group of people in power who will bring you down. Same thing.
Win with Russian interference, though.
That's
what
real
I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right. So, again, as a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, I will tell you that we should believe exactly what the intelligence community has told us, which is Russia did interfere in the election of the President of the United States in 2016.
So you feel he should be prosecuted?
I believe that the policies of this administration should be prosecuted. I believe that when you put babies in cages, when you separate children from their parents, early in those days, Joe Biden was running against Barack Obama. But
that's when he was making comments like Barack Obama was the first black male he ever met that was bright, articulate, and clean.
But I want to say
this is how I see the false information getting out. There's a meme that says Kamala Harris broke the state record for incarcerating black males.
Well, that's just not true.
You know what a meme is, correct, right?
Yes, I do.
Come on now, don't date her like that. Come on now.
You know he went to Hampton. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
You do mixtape. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about Joe Biden. Talk about the debate. You got in Joe Biden's ass at the debate.
Got in his ass.
Yeah, you pressed him on his record about busing. But a lot of people have noted that, your position on busing is the same as Biden's. Is it the same?
No, it is not.
Okay. That's a misconception. Let's clear that up.
It is, and I appreciate
I got that from Fox News, too,
yeah,
by the way. Carl Rove, I'm sorry.
Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion, including him. But let's clear that up. Thank you. We cannot rewrite history on this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the reason I raised it on that stage. America's history on this issue is that there had to be busing because there were people like those segregationists who served in the United States Senate, who served in the Congress, who served in state houses.
Oh, Jesus.
Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy.
America's a shambles. I don't give a what he said.
To protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot.
I'm not listening to 3 minutes of this shit, yo. The world is in shambles.
Around the country.
Aren't you embarrassed to be a Democrat?
America is in I'm not a Democrat.
So, yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
I'm not a Republican either.
Yeah, boy.
I'm nothing.
Yeah, I'm not saying you got to be a Republican.
I'm just out here.
What about you, Chris? You like Biden? You voting for Biden again?
I think we could use a fresh new person on the
That's
seat.
why it's whack that the DNC won't let nobody They won't do no primaries next year, man. Do a primary debate. Put Joe Biden up on that stage with Bobby Kennedy, who's challenging him, and Marianne Williamson, and whoever steps up to the plate, and let's have a discussion.
Trump.
Yeah.
They feel like they would rather get it raw. Like, you know what? At least we know where that These motherfuckers is gassing us up, lying to us, promising us and didn't deliver. Like, I cannot wait to see, and I'm already watching it. I'm watching Democrats start the campaign. They're already like, Hillary, you gotta go out there and vote. Like, democracy depends on it. I'm like, when y'all gonna start governing like democracy depends?